to the very next episode of Wing and a Prayer podcast, a show about Seattle Mariners baseball. My name is Andy Wing, and I am your host. I am so fired up to be back here with you all. I wanted to wait initially 2 weeks to put out my next episode, but I've had so many of you reach out and give me even content ideas and positive feedback that I just wanted to get going again. And so I also wanted to say thank you to everyone that's listened. I had over 80 downloads in this first episode and tons of feedback. And it's honestly more than I ever comprehended. So again, just say thank you for listening, joining me along with this journey. It's so fun to be doing this and fulfilling a dream of mine. So thank you again. On today's show, we are going to dig into some spring training updates, including some injury news. We're also going to dig into some top player performances early in camp and some watch items, such as the top prospects and maybe a streaming update. And then we're going to spend some time going through each position. And were we better in 23 versus 24? Well, we'll go through each position, take a look at it, and I'll give you my opinion. And then we're going to close out the show with Andy's Rant. What is bothering me? Let's do this. We are going to look at some spring training updates, especially starting off with the injury news front. Matt Brash, key reliever for the Mariners, went down in camp with some arm discomfort kind of early on, and he was shut down. Nothing was really disclosed more than that. They were waiting to see, hoping to give updates. Scott Service was on one of the local radio broadcasts and talked about how it was just his arm and didn't really give us any more information than that, but hopefully have an update soon. There was another report out that he might be out for the season, might have to have surgery, and I think all of our collective breaths as Mariner fans went, oh, great. But shortly after that, there actually came official news out that he doesn't need surgery, and he's going to resume throwing in about a week, and it's just some elbow discomfort or elbow inflammation, and he's going to be hopefully ready sometime after opening day. And I think all of us went, whoa, collective breath again in positive, because, you know, you're thinking you're losing this guy for the year, and I was about to come on this podcast and talk about how you have to pivot when things go bad in your life. But hey, it turned around, positive news comes out, and he's not out of the woods yet, right? He's got to rehab it back and get back to full strength, and he's probably going to miss a little bit of time to start the year, but I think you'd much rather him lose 2, maybe 3 weeks and come back at full strength, ready for the rest of the season to help the Mariners get to the playoffs. So this is the best news that could have come out of this situation, knowing he was already shut down. And so, that's way better. Next up, Gregory Santos, the prize trade addition from the White Sox this offseason. Late in the offseason, honestly, right before spring training started. Gregory came in with a slight arm problem, but it was a little bit seemingly worse than expected. And I think they're just taking him really cautiously this spring to not push him too hard and making sure his arm is strong and not having to go down to the DL shortly after the season starts. And they are taking it slow with him. He just recently started to play catch. He's going to work his way into bullpens and then build his strength up, hopefully get into some spring training games here on the Sooner side. And there's word he might be ready for opening day, and that's the best we can hope for considering the circumstances. Santos was acquired to be another major power arm in that bullpen and really give it depth on the back end. And so to have Brash and Santos ready near opening day is a huge win for the Mariners, and just hoping that all comes together as planned. Luis Urias, another trade acquisition on the offensive side, meant to play third base with Josh Rojas this season. He came in with a slight shoulder issue himself, not really able to throw. We've seen him in the lineup at DH, and they're working him back slowly. He's been taking infield, throwing, and I hear he's going to play in the lineup at third base this coming week. So that's a good sign as well. He's coming back from a slight injury that he's healing, but it doesn't seem like it's going to hamper him, but we'll have to see. I mean, I think this is something the Mariners are paying close attention to because they have a plan there with Josh Rojas and him to play third. So if he can't play, then they'll have to really pivot and go in a different direction. But all signs point to him getting back on the field. I saw him hit in the game at DH, and I thought he hit pretty well, and that's a good sign. So I'm excited to see how it plays out, but hopefully he's just healthy. So that's all for the injury news. It seems like there's a lot going on, and it's really early in camp. So to only have a few guys, and they seem like they're coming back, is honestly a really good sign. And hopefully it just stays that way, and nobody else gets injured during the spring training and everybody else stays healthy. That's the biggest thing going into the season. Moving on to top player performance early in camp. Now, this is a small sample size. We're early. I get it. But it's still fun to look at the numbers and see who's tearing it up early and who's making the most of their opportunities. Now, in spring training, the stars, the everyday starters, play 2 to 3 innings, maybe get 1 to 2 at bats, and then they leave the game. And some of the other guys, the high prospects, the minor leaguers that are getting a chance, they then get to play and chance to show off their skills. And some of these guys are really making the most of the opportunity. Firstly, I'm looking at Ryan Bliss. He was a trade acquisition last year along with Dominic Canzone. So far in spring, he leads the team with hits. He's hitting .455. He's got 1,045 OPS, and he just seems like he's hitting the ball hard all over the yard. I also look at another guy like Locklear. He's a first baseman, kind of the guy of the future, I think, at that position. He's got 7 at-bats in. He's hitting .385, 891 OPS. He's made some most of his opportunities as well. Now, the star of the show, I really think, is Cole Young. He's a guy I think we could see this year, especially if there's an injury or he just needs somebody struggling. He needs to come up, and he's got 5 hits, .455 average, 1235 OPS, and 5 RBIs. He is just raking, and he hit a home run a couple games ago, and the whole internet community just went wild. Like, I saw tweets all over the place that were like, bring him up now, get him on the roster, why wait anymore? Now, I know the Mariners have a plan, and I don't think they're going to rush him, but anyway, it's just exciting to see. These are the fun aspects of spring training that we get to watch. Another guy that's kind of been up and down with the Mariners is Taylor Trammell. I really think this is an important spring training for him. He's hitting .444. He's 4 for 9, 3 RBIs, and 1139 OPS. Again, it's early, but even in the early moments, he's hitting the ball hard, and it's seemingly what he's done, and he does it in the minor leagues, and it'll be curious if he gets a chance. I mean, he is trying to make the team, and there's not very many spots available, so we'll see. This is an important camp. He's got to make the most of it. So far, he is. Let's see if he can keep it up. Now, there are going to be 2 veterans that are going to be on the Major League team that are having a great start to their spring that I'd like to highlight as well. Mitch Haniger, he hasn't had a lot of at-bats. He's 3 for 6, though, with a home run and 2 RBI. His first at-bat, he hit a home run, and it just sent the crowd wild who was at the stadium. And I'm excited for have Mitch back, and so to see him get off to a hot start is great to see. Josh Rojas as well. There's been a lot of talk about whether Josh Rojas should be at third base and if he should be playing regular reps. And so far, he's trying to show, yeah, I deserve this. I want to be here, and I should be playing almost every day. He's 4 for 10, 2 doubles, a home run, and a 1,400 OPS. Again, it's early. Again, it's spring training. But you'd much rather see that than him hitting poorly right now. And so I'm excited about that, and I think hopefully he can keep that up and really put his stamp on that position. On the pitching side of thing here at spring training, it's really early. All the starters have had 1 start. Luis Castillo today had his 2nd start. Really, they've only had 1 start. And there's not too much to go on. But here are a couple highlights I've seen so far. Bryce Young's new splitter is straight up nasty. I got to see it in the game he pitched, and a couple times just fell off the table, and the guy swung right over the top of it. And that has me really excited for the season. Along with his fastball and his breaking pitches, is going to make him a much better pitcher. Emerson Hancock, the rotation is pretty much set, but he's trying as hard as he can to make the roster. And you never know with injuries, and so he's going to be a great 6th option. And so far in camp, in his first start, he showed well. His fastball has been faster than it was last year, more velocity. His changeup looks really sharp, and so I know he's fighting hard, and I'm excited to see where this goes, but his first start looked pretty good. Luis Castillo came into camp in better shape, and so far his velocity has been much stronger than it has been early on in camp, hitting 97 miles an hour. And what I've seen so far is just a guy more focused and more determined this year, which is nothing but good for what the Mariners need out of their pitching staff this year. Moving on to our watch items. So for me, I'm really keeping an eye on our top prospects, kind of the guys we've drafted in the last couple years that have the best potential and are showing great in camp. We've talked about a couple of them already, but the first one's Cole Young. Cole Young was drafted 2 seasons ago and has made his stamp on this team in a quick way. He's played really well in the first couple seasons he's been in. This spring, he's tearing it up, and he is vying for a chance. Like, I need to be on this team, and he's really showing well. And so it's exciting to watch him. He's got all the attention on him. Locklear is another guy. He's a first baseman. He's got power and he's got a great swing. And so a lot of the even major leaguers have really noticed him and are like, well, we got to keep an eye out for that guy. Ty Pete, he was a guy that was drafted just this past year in 2023. And he's in, I think, Everett High A. But he's playing well. He's still learning, but he's exciting. He's got a lot of raw talent. And I'm excited to watch him and keep an eye on him. Colt Emerson, again, with Ty Pete's draft class in 2023, but he had put on like 25 pounds of muscle this offseason. He's hitting the ball farther, got a lot more power, and so there's a lot to be excited about Colt Emerson. And the other two guys are, I've talked about Taylor Trammell already, but Cade Marlowe, both guys AAA to major leaguers. This is going to be the year they need to figure it out. They either need to be an awesome backup or a great injury replacement, plain and simple. So I'm really looking forward to what they are going to be doing this spring and how it shakes out as we go into the season. Another thing for me to watch is the streaming world. In my last episode, I ranted about Root Sports and how to access it and how it's only available on certain platforms. Well, the Mariners own Root Sports, but they also, this past week, did a simulcast of video and audio with 2 cameras and their radio broadcast. I don't know about you, but it kind of seemed like they were circumventing Root Sports to try to bring a different way to the fans, which I loved because I don't have Root Sports at the moment. But I'm kind of waiting to see how this plays out. It seems like there's things going on behind the scenes that could be beneficial to us fans of being able to access the content. So that's all I know right now, but I'm keeping a close eye on it. And anything I find or hear, I'll share with you all. But I'm just waiting to see. I'm not going to switch providers yet because I love to see them announce that YouTube TV is available to watch Root Sports and even other providers. So hopefully some more news on that to come. Next, I'm going to spend some time looking at every single position on the team and whether we were better in 23 of that position or we're better in 24. So we're going to go position by position. We're going to start at catcher and go all the way through. And this is going to be a lot of fun diving into each position. And I'll give you my decision and my analysis and everything that goes in between. First up, catcher. Cal Raleigh and Mitch Garver right now are the slated catchers. We're not really sure if Mitch is going to be the full-time backup while he's being a DH, or they're going to have a third catcher on the roster. It'd be really interesting to see if they take up a roster spot for a third catcher when we know Mitch Garver can catch. So if that's the case, if they're the 2 catchers, I believe this is a better position in 24 than it was 23. The main reason is I think Cal Raleigh is going to take a step forward again. Last year, he took a step forward from his first full season. He was a better catcher. He threw out a ton of base runners, was one of the tops in the league in gunning down runners. He hit more home runs, had a better average, and I think he's just going to take a step forward in all categories. He's one of the leaders on the team. He's vocal, he shares his thoughts, and he's also performing better. And I think he's just going to get better and better. And then with Mitch backing him up and also being the DH, another great hitting player, I think this just elevates this position more and more. And this catching position is going to be one of the top probably 3 or 4 ranked positions in the league by the end of the season. So my final answer is better in 2024. On to first base with Ty France and Luke Raley. My initial decision here is better. Ty France had a down season in 2023. He admitted it as much. He had prior seasons where he did great, and last year just wasn't as good. He'd always seemingly used his talent to carry himself, and it got him a long ways. But this offseason, he actually went and spent the time at Driveline. He worked hard with them to clean up his swing, improve it, and he feels really confident coming to this year that he cleaned up a lot and he's in a better position for success going forward. I heard an interview where he said last year he felt like he had to cheat and so he had to stand closer to the plate. Well, this year he's going to back off the plate, which hopefully means he gets hit a little bit less. But overall, I really feel like the work he put in is going to set him up for a much better year. I said it on the last episode, but if he can hit 280 to 20 home runs, 85 or RBI, that is going to be a much improvement from 2023. Also, backing him up when needed is going to be Luke Raley, and he's better than any backup we had before. Literally, Ty France is the only first baseman I feel like we had. And so we were scrambling in 2023 if he couldn't play. And so having a solid backup that you can put there that's shown the ability to hit and play that defensive position puts us in a better position. So again, I stand firm. We're going to be better in 2024 than 2023. Moving on to second base. The last 2 seasons for the Mariners have been absolutely dreadful. In 2022, Adam Frazier was brought in. He hit .281 average the prior 6 seasons, .344 on base percentage, .757 OPS. Did he hit that? Not even close. He hit .238 with 3 home runs and 22 doubles. A far cry from the back of his baseball card. But I will give him props. He hit one of the biggest doubles outside of Edgar's double, but that double against the Blue Jays in Game 2 of the Wild Card Series is going to live on in Mariners history forever. When the season ended, the team chose not to re-sign him, and he signed with another team. So then they traded for Colton Wong, who also, with prior 9 years, .262 average, .333 on-base percentage, .726 OPS, won a Gold Glove. Traded for him again. Let's give the position some stability, a veteran player. And that was even worse. Through 65 games, he hit .165 and just never could get anything going, was eventually DFA'd. So as you can imagine, coming into the 2024 season, second base was a huge question mark. The Mariners traded for Josh Rojas towards the end of 2023, and he actually played pretty well, but not quite good enough to really say, here's our solid second baseman we have for the next season or 2 or 3 seasons. And throughout the offseason, there was still a question mark. But then late in the offseason, the Mariners were able to trade for Jorge Polanco, a veteran second baseman that has a little more offensive prowess than the last 2 guys. I know Mariner fans, you're thinking you're scarred. Like, last 2 guys we've gotten at that position just have not measured up to what we'd expected. Jorge Polanco is going to be the real deal, folks. He's going to hit second or third in the lineup. He's got a history of hitting for power. He's a good defensive second baseman. He can even move around the infield. And his ability to hit for power and average is far beyond the ability that the prior 2 second basemen have had. His last 5 seasons, he's averaged nearly .270 average and nearly .800 OPS. At the end of the day, health is going to be the biggest question, with Polanco only averaging 108 games his last 5 seasons. With all that said, though, I truly believe, and I stand by it, it's a better position in 2024 than we were in 2023. Shortstop. Well, there's no doubt who plays shortstop for the Seattle Mariners. J.P. Crawford. JP had his absolute best season he's ever had in 2023. He spent the offseason before that working at Driveline, working on all of his skills, especially hitting, and it paid off in a big way. He had his second highest average, but by far his highest OPS, as he had the most walks of any American League player. And when you think about all the sluggers, including Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, and others that are feared, and for JP to be the league leader in walks is pretty incredible, and I expect that to continue this coming season. The concerns I have about JP a little bit is around his glove. Now, JP is a Gold Glover, and I still think he's a really good defender. When I dug into the numbers, though, the numbers kind of paint a little bit different story. So, looking it up, in 2020, when he won his Gold Glove, he was a .986 fielding percentage, and he had 16 defensive runs saved per season, per the statistics. Now, that's a shortened season. He only had 3 errors, but he still was the best defensive player, according to the metrics. 2021 goes down a little bit to .981 fielding percentage, 7 defensive runs saved per season. And basically, the defensive run statistic just kind of looks at over the whole season with all the chances and plays you make, how much do you affect your team? How much of a defensive player are you that helps your team win? And how many runs have you saved based on balls you get to that other people can't get to and things like that? In 2022, his fielding percentage dipped from .981 to .972, and he had a -4 defensive runs saved per season. And then in 2023, it's about the same as 2022 with .973 fielding percentage and a -3 defensive runs saved per season. The negative defensive run saved per season is basically saying his range just isn't quite as good. He's not quite as quick. Now, is his hand still as solid? Yes. Is his arm still good? Yes. And when I watch it on TV, I really honestly don't see all of that, and I still think he's an elite defender. So time will tell, but just digging into the numbers, I think his defensive ability has fallen off a little bit, so that's a little bit of concern. Also, the fact that he only steals a couple of bags a year when you're a leadoff guy is a little concerning to me as well. So he's 29, though. He's in the prime of his career. So overall, I think the same. I don't think it's going to be better because I think he had a great season last year, and that's going to be hard to top what he did last year. I also don't think he's going to be worse, so I just think it's going to be the same. Third base. I can tell you right now this is worse. Eugenio Suarez was a mainstay in the lineup, middle of the order guy with a ton of power for the last 2 seasons. He also was an ace defender. I think he got absolutely robbed of Gold Glove potential opportunity this offseason. His downfall is the fact that he strikes out way too much. He was one of the top strikeout leaders in the American League last year. And I think the team decided they're going to move in a different direction, trying to get more contact guys. So by moving him out, they've moved Josh Rojas from second to third. They also traded for Luis Urias to try to fill that gap. And those 2 guys are going to play platoon based on matchups with that position. And the team is very optimistic that these 2 guys at their best can be a 5-WAR player. I don't know about that. Third base is far too much of a question mark to rank this as better when you had somebody who played every single game last year at third base. Until I'm proven wrong, this is worse. Absolutely worse. Left field. When I started digging into left field, my brain went immediately to, well, of course, 2024 is going to be better than 2023 because who are left fielders? And it seems like everybody that rolls out in the left field is an underperforming player, maybe a call-up, or just a bad situation. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, who played left field last year? Well, Jared Kelenic, Dom Canzone, A.J. Pollock, Taylor Trammell, Cade Marlowe, Dylan Moore, and honestly, a total of 8 players played in left field. Well, when I ranked the positions as far as offensive numbers in 2023, left field was the 3rd highest position for average at 258, 3rd highest for slugging percentage at 778, and 4th in home runs. And I had to look at that a little closer because I was kind of shocked to see how well left field actually did. So the 2024 plan is we traded for Dom Canzone towards the end of last year, give him more opportunity. He's only had about 58 games under his belt. Luke Raley traded for from the Rays. He played really well last year, and then he got hurt. And last year was the first time he really got opportunity as well. So this is a big question mark with these 2 players. Are they going to play great? I don't think so, but I don't think they can outperform what the left field position did last year because I think that actually outperformed expectations of what you would think who have played out there. So my take here is that this is a worse position in 2024. Those 2 players are going to have to play really well to outperform what left field did in 2023. So I don't see it going any other way. That's the way I see it. Worse in 2024. Center field, Julio Rodriguez. This is a no doubt better. I don't even need to spend time on it. I think Julio is going to be vying for an MVP this year, and he's going to have just a fantastic season. So better. Moving on. Right field. 2023, Teoscar Hernandez was in right field, and he was highly thought of, came from Toronto and Houston and had great seasons, and he was going to be a fixture in the lineup. Now, he only had a 1-year deal, but he really underperformed. His offensive output, including average, home runs, slugging percentage, were all well below, and the whole right field position performed at one of the worst positions for the Mariners in 2023. The right field position hit 232, 282 on base percentage, and 215 strikeouts. Right field is on the higher end of the home runs for position categories in 2023, but that's about the only positive thing you can say. The 2024 plan is mostly going to be Mitch Haniger with others rotating in like Dylan Moore, Sam Haggerty, Luke Raley, Dom Canzone, just rotation in the outfield, but it's mostly going to be Mitch Haniger. Now, Mitch was traded for Robbie Ray, and Mitch was also brought in to replace Teoscar. Teoscar was not pursued in free agency, ended up signing with the Dodgers. Now, Mitch had a down season in San Francisco for the 1 year he was there, and he got injured and missed part of the season, and he's had health concerns throughout his career. But he's had success in Seattle. He was part of the 2022 team, big part of that team to get them to the playoffs and break the curse. And he's had major success here in Seattle. It is fair to say that us as Mariner fans are hoping he can relive the glory of what he produced before and stay on the field. Right field in 2024 is going to be better than 2023. And that's mainly to do with the players they've brought in, and the approach the team is taking is a little more contact-centric. And so even if Mitch Haniger gets injured, I feel like the other guys will be a better chance to get on base, maybe steal a bag, and help the team out. And just the way the performance was in right field, striking out as much as they did, not even producing the power to go along with it, I think the only opportunity is really to go up, and so that's why I stick with better. Designated hitter. 2023, can we all just give a collective laugh? Ha ha ha. It was terrible. Mike Ford was the only bright spot, hitting 14 home runs late in the season with a bunch of clutch hits. And that was about the only thing that anybody produced from that position. That's the only reason why they're even third in home runs with 29 home runs, because mostly Mike Ford. But the position still only hit 207 for the entire year. And the first part of the season was even worse. That 207 is a great number compared to where they started. The signing of Mitch Garver to fill the DH role for the Mariners in 2024 was the first time the Mariners have gone out and said, we're going to fill this position with somebody who knows how to hit and can do this day in, day out since Nelson Cruz. And for that reason alone, this position is way better. Honestly, probably could have done most anything and been better than they were last year. But then again, they tried to address it last year. But the way they went about it, just rotating guys in and not having any mainstay there, I think just they could found and saw it just didn't work. So this is absolutely a better position in 2024. So we are all done with the position players and DH. We're going to move on to the starting pitchers. George Kirby, Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller, and Brian Wu. This has the makings of being the best starting five rotation in Seattle Mariners history. The talent is like an all-time high. Health with any pitching staff is going to be the absolute key, and it's no different here. This staff has three guys that could potentially vie for the Cy Young. Not only that, but four of their starters, Kirby, Miller, Wu, and Gilbert, are still on the very early sides of their career, getting better and better. Castillo is the absolute ace, and he came into camp much better shape. The expectations, honestly, for this group are sky high. And Emerson Hancock, sitting there waiting in the wings, wants his opportunity, fighting for it, and he may get it this year. Most of the time, teams do not put out five starters and just roll through with the same guy, five guys. Last year, they used 9 pitchers. They're probably going to need to use 7 or 8. So Emerson Hancock's going to get his opportunity, but this is no doubt better. This is mostly the same staff they ended with last year, but these guys are maturing, they're getting better, and they're just going to take that next step forward. So this is a no doubt better. The bullpen. The Mariners' bullpen the last 2 years has been better than advertised. They've brought up guys you've never heard of and turned them into household names. They've always put together a good crew and have outperformed, I think, what we really could expect. Now, with Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, Gregory Santos, the rest of the crew, they on paper look really good, especially the dominant back end of that bullpen. But we all know bullpens are a bit fickle. They can go up and down. Just look at Matt Brash, the injury concern, Gregory Santos with the injury concern. It can shift quickly. And overall, I want to believe they're going to be better or even the same. I think this bullpen's going to be a little bit worse. It's going to be hard to go the whole season healthy, and I think things are going to pop up. I don't think it's going to be a lot worse. I think they'll be pretty close to what they were last year. I could even mark this as the same, but I'm just going to go with what I feel in the way bullpens go and say this is worse. Reserves. Reserves and utility players are an extremely important part of a good baseball team that's going to make the playoffs. Dylan Moore and Sam Haggerty are the main two, and like I said last episode, they are best suited to be backups in reserve. In 2023, Haggerty, Moore, and even Jose Caballero got pretty significant roles because of injuries and other things that came up. And for this team to be successful this year, they're going to be true backups. If they can stay as backups and be fill-in roles and be utility players, then this is actually going to be better because we're not relying on them to be everyday players, which it seemed like it was a little bit more last year. So I say better. So the total of all the positions, there were 8 that I determined were better, 3 that were worse, and 1 that's the exact same. The interesting part about doing this exercise is it actually just validates my feelings as a team, and I think they're better than they were in 2023. Depth is actually the main reason. The fact that they have a deeper lineup, more options defensively around the field is the biggest reason I think they're better, and each position was better. Also, you have your stars like Cal, like Julio Rodriguez, stepping up into more prominent positions and be the player that we all hope and feel like they're going to be is the biggest reason why they're going to be better. Closing the show with Andy's rant. Last week, we talked a lot about Root Sports, and this week, we're going to dive into the new jerseys. I'm sure most of you by now have seen the new jerseys, as it's been all over social media. It's absolutely pathetic that Major League Baseball would roll out with these jerseys and think that nobody would notice and it wouldn't be talked about. And they can say all they want, that they tested it out and they got great response and feedback from the players. They must have asked like 2 players in a setting that made it easy for them to get the right answer they wanted. Because once they're out on the field playing with it, did you all see Great Britain in the World Baseball Classic with the pitcher and the letters falling off his jersey? From what I understand, those are the same jerseys they're using this year. And it looks like they just took an iron and pressed on the logo and the letters and the name. And it's like different font sizes. And it just looks horrendous. Not to mention the pants. Now, the fact that nobody checked out the pants are see-through, all these images going around that you can see the pants all tucked in and you can see right through it. Now, some of them are hilarious, but it's ridiculous. This is Major League Baseball. I had better equipment than that in high school, and it's ridiculous. It just, to me, it screams a money grab. What's the cheapest material we can make to make it look the best and sell it for $400 a jersey? And I'm just beyond, I'm so frustrated by this. I bought a new jersey for the City Connect, a Ken Griffey Jr. jersey last year, and I paid a lot of money for it, not $400. And that thing is way better quality than what I've seen so far. So Major League Baseball is better figure this out and get the quality in line. I hope that spring training's their kind of testing ground, and then they'll roll out something a lot better for the season, because I'm sure they're scrambling behind the scenes right now, trying to get to the bottom of it. Fanatics and Nike are fighting, pointing fingers at each other. Either way, you two need to get together and figure it out, get together with MLB and get it right, because the fans deserve better, the players deserve better, and it's just silly to have this a topic of conversation in spring training, getting ready for the season, and it's about quality of the material of the uniform, and then you want to turn around and sell it? So anyway, that's it for Andy's rant. And that wraps up the second episode for Wing and a Prayer podcast. Wow, I can't believe I just said those words. It has been so amazing to be here with you all. Thank you so much for everyone who's listened, who's downloaded, who's shared it with their buddies. It means the world to me. This has reached so many more people than I thought it would so far. And I can't wait to hear what you all think after this episode. So if you know how to hit me up, send me what you want to hear. I'll try to talk about it on the show. So thank you, everyone. Have a great week and go Mariners.